Hello, I'm Mike, and this is the BMW X5M Competition. The beast from Bavaria. Well, apart from the fact that it was made in Spartanburg, South Carolina. But anyway, enough chit-chat. Let's go for a drive. Under the hood of the BMW X5M Competition is the S63 engine, or better known as a 4.4-liter twin-turbocharged V8. In the X5M, it produces 600 horsepower. In this competition trim, though, it produces 617 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. Despite this being a pretty hefty SUV, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, or 62 miles an hour, is over and done with in 3.8 seconds. Peak torque comes in at 1800 RPM, so gently put your foot down, and this thing goes. Of course, if you really put your foot down, then you really get going. Such an intoxicating noise and speed, obviously. However, you do have to watch your speed because you sit quite high up in the X5. Even with the seat in its lowest position, the high driving position makes it feel as though you're not traveling as fast as the speedometer says. But because of the engine's tremendous power, the speed limit is very quickly reached on city streets and highways. But of course, there is a massive price to pay for this much power. Fuel economy is not good. On a highway, it's rated for 13 liters per 100 kilometers. And in a city, it's rated for 17.9 liters per 100 kilometers. And of course, it takes premium fuel. Right now, I am averaging about 17.5 liters per 100 kilometers. It's not a cheap week for me. Shifting gears is an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission. In normal comfort mode, you don't even notice the shifts. They are that smooth. And of course, they are quick. Not quite Porsche PDK quick, but very quick for an automatic. You can also change how the transmission shifts. There's a little button right here next to the park button on the gear selector, and you have 3 different settings for it. It does speed up the shifting a tiny bit, although you don't really notice it. But what you really notice is that in its most aggressive setting, it holds the RPMs pretty much all the way to the red line. Around corners, the BMW X5M Competition feels very stable and very planted. It obviously has a 4-wheel drive system with 4-wheel drive Sport, but it doesn't have a 2-wheel drive option, as in make the 4-wheel drive system a 2-wheel drive like you can in the M8 and the M5. But despite that though, it still feels like a rear-wheel drive biased system because it is. And even in 4-wheel drive Sport, it doesn't really shake its tail out or get its tail out, but you do feel that it wants to rotate. The steering feel is a bit on the artificially heavy side, but it's quick. If you're not careful, you'll end up turning in too much too soon into a corner. Body roll is very well controlled. The X5M comes equipped with standard adaptive M suspension that can be switched between Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. The different suspension settings are tied to the standard drive modes, or you can customize them via the 2 M mode buttons on the steering wheel. For example, I had M1 set to Sport Plus engine power along with the most aggressive shifting, but the suspension and steering in Comfort. M2 was my all-out button with every feature to Sport or Sport Plus. Sitting in the front seat of the BMW X5M Competition, I have plenty of space for my 6'4" stature. Obviously, I have loads of legroom. I could even move the seat further back if I want to. Plenty of headroom, and these seats are very comfortable. They have many adjustments, multiple lumbar settings. There's a thigh extension, and the bolsters go in and out. As well, they are massaging, so that's always a plus. The only thing that I see an issue with is these lower lumbar, or not really lumbar, but bolsters on the bottom cushion. They do a good job of holding you in, but when you're getting out, it's quite a step. I mean, I'm 6'4", so I'm okay with it, but shorter people, it's quite a long step, and these things don't really have a whole lot of give in them. So just something to be aware of. In the back of the BMW X5M Competition, there isn't quite as much space as its Mercedes-Benz GLE 63 rival. This seat is in my driving position and my knees are really squished up against it. I can put my knees like this to the side, but if I want to be straight, it doesn't really work. However, the seats are very comfortable, although they don't have a whole lot of side support. I mean, obviously. So if you have a crazy driver friend and you're in the back seat, make sure you brace yourself really well. Other stuff in the back, you got sunshades, or peasant blockers as some people like to call them. There's climate control and heated seats, and of course, cup holders. Oh, and I also really like the sunroof. There also has a nice glow all around it. Pretty cool feature at night. Further back, the BMW X5M Competition has one of the biggest trunks in its class. With the rear seats in the upright position, there is 960 liters of cargo space. Fold the seats down and that number increases to 2,047 liters. Furthermore, I really like the split folding tailgate. It makes loading heavy items in the trunk easier by not having to reach far into the trunk to place a heavy item. It can also be used as a seat at a tailgate party. The rest of the interior doesn't have quite the flashiness of its Mercedes-Benz rival, but it can still hold its own. While there is quite a bit of carbon fiber on the center console, it's not overdone. The ambient lighting is very visible at night, but again, it's not over the top. The climate control and radio controls are straightforward and very simple to use. As well, almost everyone loves quilted leather on seating surfaces. As for noise in the X5M Competition, that really depends on what your right foot is doing. If it's calm, then the only noise you'll hear is a little bit of road noise from the tires on a highway. If your right foot is restless, then you'll hear the raw V8 soundtrack coming from the exhaust pipes. It does have a bit of raspiness to it between shifts at the red line, but for the most part it's just raw V8 noise without many pops and bangs. The 2021 BMW X5M Competition starts at $130,000 Canadian. Load went up with all the options and the price reaches almost $150,000 Canadian. The features that you'd expect from a six-figure luxury SUV are there, like the aforementioned massaging seats with heating and ventilating, navigation, power liftgate, adaptive cruise control with lane centering and traffic jam assist, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, heated and cooled cup holders, and leather everywhere you touch. So in the end, is the BMW X5M Competition worth it? If you have a boatload of cash, a literal boatload of cash, and you have your 911 GT2 RS and your AMG GT Black Series, and you're waiting for that Aston Martin Valkyrie order to come in, and you want to take the kids to school in a super SUV, then this is a bargain. It's right around the same price as the Mercedes-Benz GLE 63S, but it's more powerful. It's more powerful than the Range Rover Sport SVR, and it's also less expensive, the starting price that is. And it's more powerful than the Porsche Cayenne Turbo. Granted, the Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid is more powerful, but it's also significantly more expensive than this. So you can really call this the bargain from Bavaria. Anyway, if you want to know more about this BMW X5M Competition, I wrote a comprehensive and detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or maybe another SUV. Who knows? Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.